Adam Schefter at ESPN says there's 275,000 people.
Well, that was some party in downtown Detroit. 775,000 people, shattering the NFL draft attendance record.
This is the future.
All grit.
Evolution. This is the future.
All grit.
Evolution.
All grit.
All right. Hey, what's happening, everybody? Sorry about the little bit of a late entry here. Had to feed the old pup. Hope you're all doing all right on a Sunday night. Let's talk a little bit about NFL draft today. Probably do day 3 and day 4. Might as well just knock them both out, to be honest with you. I didn't get a whole lot of time today to watch all of the offensive linemen, so I'm going to use a little bit of help from some of the other pros that do it. But I kind of want to start with this article on day 3 here by Jeremy Reisman, because there's some really good stuff in here. Really, really good stuff in here. Matter of fact, talking about some of the coaching, the new coaches that we have, and what some of the combine players, like from Iowa State, those of which I expected for us to be, taking part in interviews with them, and the Lions did. So there's some good quotes in there from them, and even one about Tashard Choice. So a lot of good stuff to get to. We're going to start off with, I guess, probably that first, or second, I guess. But look, this is a deep draft. Any which way you slice it, this is a deep draft. And honestly, I was looking at 24, excuse me, the Lions in 2024 and who they met with. And there's a similar story every single season. So I'm one that looks at analytics, right? And I try to look at patterns in, what is Brad going to do, which we'll never know what he's going to do. But there was a pattern last year that was also kind of ringing in this year. And that he kind of went hard after a couple positions in the pre-draft process as far as visits were considered. All of the combine visits, the Senior Bowl visits, the Shrine Bowl visits, whatever, right? And I think it matters. I think it means something. So last year he went after cornerback in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 corners and 1 safety, which was Sione Vaki, who we now know is a running back. 9, 10, 11 corners, 2 more safeties, adding in the local days. So like 13 DBs is what he ended up, or 15 DBs he ended up interviewing last year. So to think that he wasn't going to take a DB, you had to be nuts, right? I mean, you don't interview that many and you're not going to take one. And he took 2. So when I look at this year and kind of what we're doing, I guess we'll start there first, right? Well, let's look at the tracker. Get my sheet up. Look at the tracker for who the Lions have met with already. Now, I haven't found any other resources. And by the way, I'm comparing this to the Bears, the Packers, the Vikings as well. I'm just not finished with it to kind of see where's the overlap? What players is there some overlap? If you remember, there was an individual that said that Ben Johnson had our draft day board. Yeah, I don't see it so far. There's hardly any overlap. But thus far, the Lions have interviewed 9 edge rushers. And 8 linebackers. Only 3 DTs, 3 safeties, 4 tight ends, 5 corners. Matter of fact, Virginia, Pittsburgh, Texas. I got some DBs in here twice. Get rid of those. So what am I saying here? What am I trying to tell you? 4 wide receivers, 2 quarterbacks. Jalen Milroe. If you guys remember, early in this process, I said that Jalen Milroe is a guy I expect to get taken at the end of the first. Offensive tackles, inside, outside, inside linemen, about 6. 1 running back. So if I were to just take this on its surface, kind of look at what we've done in the past, I would say that offensive lineman is probably going to be taken somewhere in the middle rounds, late day 2, early day 3. Wide receiver, if there's one late in day 3, if Pat Bryant is there, possible, right? Definitely possible, but not early. Corner, I don't think that corner is high on his list. If anything, it's probably late day 2, early day 3. I think where he's going, which is kind of matching up to the rumors, conversations that I had, it's defensive line and linebacker. Like that's going to be the main focus of this draft. So if you're looking for anything else, it's probably not going to happen. Tight end, I think, is higher on the list than it's not. So again, if we look at patterns, the more that Brad meets with a certain Brad and Dan, the more they meet with a certain player or profile of a player, position, the more likely it is that position is going to be drafted. So I'm sure everyone understood that already. How am I feeling, Lone Wolf? I'm exhausted, man. I actually had a doctor appointment today online on a Sunday. Can you believe that? Cleveland Clinic's kind of cool, but yeah, I'm just exhausted. Medication changes suck. So let's talk about day 3 for a moment, right? We saw nothing but, great stuff out of day 3. Even out of day 2. Just a lot of good stuff. A lot of intriguing football players in this draft. Hold on here. A lot of intriguing football players in this draft. But top takeaways, according to Jeremy Reisman, is this. Let's get into some headlines. So in the latest round of coaching hires is what he's talking about here. The Lions pulled a few guys from the college ranks that made the NFL Combine a very unique opportunity to get a perspective on these coaches through the eyes of players who have been directly impacted by these coaches. There was no doubt in my mind that the Iowa State kids were going to get a shot and at least get a shot at an interview. And they did, and they deserve it. These guys play some pretty damn good football. So let's start with Eric Ilemanor. I'm not even sure if that's how you say his last name, out of Stanford. So David Shaw, obviously, former coach over there at Stanford. This is what Eric had to say, or wide receiver Alec Ilemanor said, quote, he really coached us in more than just football. He coached us in life. And I really appreciate him for that. So I think that they're getting a really great coach. I actually met with him and I got to see him again. It was awesome to see a familiar face like that. My audio way hot. It seems like it's way, way hot. Way loud. There we go. So Ilemanor said that, may have been the best press conference he went to all week. He was poignant, informative, and had a couple of neat stories. If you don't know this origin story, he grew up in Alberta, Canada as a hockey and football player. Everything changed at age 14 when he ran into Justin Dillon at a sports consultant who encourages Canadian football players to play high school ball in the States. Manor dropped hockey, became a football and track star and eventually landed at Stanford, being recruited by Shaw. There's not a single ounce of ego with this kid, this wide receiver out of Stanford, as evidenced by his answers to how he found so much success in 2023, double overtime win against Colorado, and star cornerback Travis Hunter. He had 13 catches, 294 yards, 3 TDs. PFF credits Hunter with allowing 11 catches for 158 yards and 2 TDs. This is huge. Right? This is huge. So when you look at what he was able to do against Travis Hunter, who's been touted as the best football player in the draft, there's got to be something to this. This Alec Iomanor. He's going to definitely get a second, if not a third look from me on some tape. So he says, quote, "It's honestly going to be a whole team thing every time you have a big performance like that in the second half. The line really held their own out there. Obviously, Ashton was delivering the ball accurately and on time. That's all you can ask for as a receiver. When you get those close opportunities with the ball on time and on target, you just have to capitalize on them. And that's what I ended up doing. He's a big body receiver, 6'2", 210, who believes his speed is getting overlooked. Describes his talents as the tenacity of Cardinals receiver Mike Wilson and the get off of Calvin Ridley. I mean, that's incredible, right? And his style is most similar to A.J. Brown. I mean, those are 3 really good wide receivers in the NFL, obviously with size, agility, physicality, you name it. This Alec, he could be a draft surprise. I don't even know where he's ranked right now. Matter of fact, let's take a peek. Mr. Alec Iomanor, where are you at? All right. 6'2", 206, 32 and 3/8 inch arms, 10-inch hands. He's a big body. He ran a 4.44, a 1.58 split, 38.5-inch vert, 10.7 broad. And right now, NFL.com has him ranked as a good backup with the potential to develop into a starter. These are the type of guys that fly under the radar, that don't get seen. And then they get their welcome to the NFL moment by welcoming somebody else to the NFL and do some great things on day one. Who would we compare that to? Like, who was the big surprise last year? Who was the big surprise that was a late day or late pick, mid pick? Any ideas? My mind's blank. Who was the big bright star? Oh, let's take a look here. I mean, none of the top drafted guys, I mean, obviously we knew what they were supposed to be. I mean, definitely not like a Lad McConkey because, again, I think that the story was already written for him. I'm going to have to come back to that one and try to find out who would have been the 2024 surprise that no one thought of. But anyway, I like this kid. I just have not watched any of his tape at all, period. Obviously watching, the draft or the combine, watching him do a few things. He definitely can play the game. And if he's available, just like, Pat Bryant or somebody's available, there's an opportunity for the Lions to snag him up because they're looking for BPA, and we do need a big body wide receiver. The huddle report. What's the huddle report? Who does that? What's the huddle report? I've never heard of that. I've never heard of the huddle report in all my years of doing this. Let's take a look. Yep, definitely has Alec Iomanor as number 5. Yeah, it's a nice little report, man. Thanks for sharing that. I'm going to have to check that out now. All right, let's get back into the headlines. Okay, so sticking with this report, the Iowa State Hawkeyes definitely has some good ball players this year too. And Jaden Higgins, obviously coached by Tyler Roll, Lions tight end coach now, and then also Iowa State wide receiver Jalen Knoll. I'm more intrigued by Jalen Knoll. I mean, I do like both of them, but Jalen Knoll to me is he's just a little bit more intriguing. But he had this to say about Tyler Roll, Lions tight end coach. He said, Coach Roll, he's a great coach, high energy guy. Man, that guy, he's always going to come to the facility ready to go. First time I met him, he acts like he's just one of the guys that's been there forever. I mean, that's great that you have a guy that can blend, right? Someone that can get down to your level and maybe not, act like they're above you, but just be part of you, part of the process. Obviously, there's a fine line between being a coach and a buddy in this game, but Jaden Higgins, man, 6'4", 215. This is a guy that, I'm interested in from the fact of the size. And the Lions just don't have anybody right now. And if we do end up losing a couple of ball players this year to free agency, like Patrick, then yeah, we're going to need someone to fill those shoes. I think that we'll still have enough, between J-Mo and St. Brown, but we need another, big wide receiver or another big pass catching tight end that can separate. So this is a guy to keep your eye out for. Now, he went on to say this too. He said, not only my size, but just being able to move like a small receiver. Higgins said of his strengths, I'm a big 6'4", but I can play in the slot. I can play inside and out and just make those plays at the end of the day. Higgins finished 2024 as 10th in the nation with 1,183 reception yards and recorded only 2 drops all year. To me, that sounds like a Tim Patrick replacement, right? Because Tim just doesn't drop the ball. The other guy, Jalen Knoll here, said this about Tyler Roll. He said, very energetic. He's going to come and be a very energetic person each day. He's going to be the same person each day, no matter if he's tired or not. I've never seen him tired because of how much energy he brings each day. So he just he gets the juices going within the offense. So he's a very great coach. These are all wonderful things, right? To hear about your coaches. Now, Jalen Knoll, I'm a little bit more intrigued by him. His size, only 5'11", 200 pounds. Doesn't really fit what we need in a big body wide receiver, but he plays much bigger than what he is. He believes in this, quote, changing in tempo, being able to decelerate and accelerate very fast. It helps. He also said that, I was just late being able to go over there. What was he talking about? To Kansas State, which sucks, but I'm happy for them. I'm excited for those guys to be able to get that experience. Talking about an opportunity lost in not being able to go to Ireland. So let's take a quick look at draft profile here for Jaden Higgins. Normally I have this stuff pulled up, but whatever. We'll just roll with it. Jaden Higgins, right there, 6.24. He didn't test. Oh, you guys can't even see everything because I don't have it set up. All right, well, forget that. I'll bring it over here. He's 6.24, meaning that he's going to be an eventual starter or an average starter. 6'4", 33 and 1/8 inch arms, 9 and 1/8 inch hands, 214 pounds. This guy is an absolute monster. 4.47 40. Again, the 40 doesn't really mean squat. That 1.53 split is really good. The 10.8 broad, the 39 vert. I mean, those are monster numbers. This guy's got burst. He's got quickness. But more importantly, he has size. And being able to move a body like that is not easy. His play speed is what we're going to dive into this week. And we're going to take a look at all the next-gen stats. So his play speed is what I'm going to take a look at with you guys and go over a few things. And we're talking about, all these RAS scores and everything else that comes out. How about Mr. Jaden Blue, Texas running back, talking about Tashard Choice, said, quote, he not only made me a better player on the field, but off the field. He's a guy that to anyone can go to whenever they want something off the field. And he's just a genius when it comes to the running back position. He can do a lot of things. He's coached a lot of guys in the NFL, so he brings a lot to the coaching staff. In my opinion, he's the best coach that I have had ever in football, not only on the field, but he's taught me a lot off the field. I had a lot of serious conversations with him that he's helped me get through a lot of stuff. So anyone who gets him is getting a guy who not only cares about football, but he cares about the player more. I mean, that's an incredible statement, right? So that's a very powerful statement in what is now a Detroit Lions coach coaching the running backs, Mr. Jashard Choice. So we got some good ones. Dan Campbell obviously made a lot of good decisions here. Yeah, watching Jaden run right now, man, he's super smooth. Very, very smooth. Kind of looks like a mix of a Reynolds and a Patrick and oh man, the name's escaping me. Because he doesn't have like the long spider arms, but they're still long. He's got some thickness to his arms. I mean, I don't want to say DK Metcalf because DK's like he's in another league, but he definitely has that broad size. Not quite DK. All right, so today, biggest takeaways from the offensive line, and then I'll go backwards. But biggest takeaways from today. Obviously, the offensive line didn't disappoint today. I mean, there was a few players that probably shouldn't have been on the field. They absolutely wanted to compete, but you could tell that a couple of them they shouldn't have been out there. They should have just stayed home. The Georgia line obviously dominated today. The Georgia Bulldogs have been known to recruit and develop the trenches, especially exceptionally well in recent years as well. But the 2025 Combine performances really reinforced that. Their center, Jared Wilson, led all the offensive linemen in 40 time with a 4.84. And their guard, Tate Reledhi, I think that's how you pronounce his last name, came in fourth with a 4.97 40. That's moving. These big guys are moving. Both were also top five among all offensive linemen in the 10-yard split. And Wilson especially looked fluid in the drills. So when you look for a player in a Lions scheme, right, whether it's a center, guard, or tackle, primarily I'm looking at center right now. Frank Ragnow, you just never know when he's going to hang it up. Could be this year, could be next year. And I know Brad has said, yeah, probably don't want to draft somebody to sit and wait behind Ragnow, but it does make sense to bring in a guy that can play another position, like guard. We're going to need one. Jared Wilson, to me, is a very intriguing prospect that can fit what the Lions do simply because he can climb to the next level. In the zone blocking scheme or, in the screen game, when I watched the screen activity today, when they were doing the drills, these guys did it phenomenal. And that's what we're looking for in this type of a running game. Of course, it could be different this year a little bit just because we got different coaches doing different things. But I still think they're going to utilize, Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery to the best of the ability, which is all the ability that they have in the screen game. So looking for somebody that can climb to the next level. Center, Jared Wilson fits that. Tate Reledhi, he also fits that as a guard. So I'm not out on the Lions finding an opportunity to bring one of these guys in. And right now, as far as where they're on the draft board, let's take a look. Let's take a look here. All right. So obviously Tyler Booker is number 1. Tate Reledhi is number 2. But get this, there's a huge discrepancy. You're going from Tyler Booker at number 48, which is the smack dab in the middle of the second round, to Reledhi, who is just outside of the third round at 104, or maybe just inside the third round there at the end, depending on comp picks. right at the end of the third round, which the Lions have pick 101 right now. If Tate is there, that is a no-brainer for me. Of course, that means Brad is going to have to take the linebacker and the edge, player first, first, second, and then use that third round pick on a guard or, a center like that. I think that's a perfect opportunity. 6'6", 320 pounds. I mean, the dude has the size. Definitely extra large fries for arms too, man. This guy's serious about business. Let me get into his combine stats. Here we go. All right. Wow. Only 32 and a quarter inch arms, but 10 and 3/8 inch hands, 6'6.5", 308 pounds. Athleticism score, 98. 4.97 40, 172 split, 32 inch vert, 9.5 broad. The guy was moving. Absolutely moving. I mean, he looks like a young Taylor Decker. That's just what he reminds me of. It looks like a young Taylor Decker to me. As big as he is, I'm surprised that he's in at guard. But with the arms being at 32 and a quarter inch, you probably don't want him on the outside. All right, how about Membu? Armand Membu. He really lived up to the hype this weekend. He was another player that was expected to blow up the combine with his performance, and he did big time. Membu posted a 1.74 10-yard split in a 4.91 40, which was second. A 34-inch vertical, which is massive, and a 9.7 broad, all of which were in the top 4 among all offensive linemen this weekend. Now, the only area where he didn't post in the top 4 was the 10-yard split, which was actually 7th. Obviously, he's going to fit just about anywhere. I expect him gone in the first round. Will Campbell's situation. Obviously, Will Campbell is a top lineman. He had an early scare today. He kind of got stretched out, did the splits. I thought he got hurt. I thought he extended his hamstring or something, but he was fine. Ended up finishing the day. Posted a 77 and 3/8 inch wingspan. And it was kind of the shortest of the entire mock draftable database for offensive tackles. So that's not great. That wingspan, as we've been discussing, it's big. It matters. So he was 77. Let me get my phone. He's 77.7 inches tall. Right? Here, let me pull him back up. Will Campbell. I'm sorry. He was 78 inches, I think they're going with. I think NFL.com is rounding up. I don't think that they're doing the exact, because I have 77.71. And with a 77 and 3/8 inch wing divided by his height, he is under 1. So his ape score it's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. That's not good. This could drop him. I mean, he might be the best, the best offensive lineman of the class, but some of this stuff teams really care about. And if it were me, I'm sorry. I'm not going to invest in an offensive lineman that can't even meet the minimum measurables. 77 and 3/8 inch wingspan. That's not good. So it's not necessarily the draft stock death sentence, but it will likely influence how a lot of teams view him right now. And I'm saying that his stock is probably sliding to a degree. But he's very fluid, right? He dominated the drills on Sunday. He had the second best broad jump. He had the 5th best 40. His most impressive part of the day was in the mirror drill as he won, on this all day long. I mean, he was doing really well. Ability to slide out and win his reps. But his short arms and his wingspan are very concerning. His agility may make up for some of that. We've spoken about that with other players. Defensive ends, you might have all the agility in the world. You might be, really quick thinker, right? You take the right angles. And some of that stuff can help defeat, some of the deficiencies that you have. But if you're going to go up against Myles Garrett and you're deficient in arm length, you're not going to win. And I don't care how fast you are, you're not going to win because you're not going to be able to get your arms, out long enough to get your hands on them. And that's the biggest reason why offensive linemen need long arms and a long wing. Donovan Jackson was a winner today. Ohio State offensive lineman Donovan Jackson. He didn't look awesome, during all of the drills, but he wasn't 100%. He's one of the guys that shouldn't have been there. He was hampered early. He was clearly limited. He didn't run through any of the testing, but he still looked better than most in the drills that he did participate in. But you could tell that he was not himself. And matter of fact, throughout the process, there was a couple of coaches that even went up to him and like, hey, like you don't need to take a chance here. You really don't have to do all this. So that's kind of your winners and losers on the day today. And according to the New England Patriots, though, there's a little bit more about Will Campbell and the offensive line's workout. I'm going to run through this real quick. It says the final day of workouts as the NFL... Here, let me pull it up for you guys. We'll get into headlines here. Okay, it says the final day of workouts at the NFL Scouting Combine featured the most important position group for the Patriots at Lucas Oil, which was the offensive line. And understandably, some question the importance of athletic profiles for the offensive line. It's a nasty physical position, more about play strength, technique, and mentality than who runs the fastest 40-yard dash. That said, athleticism for the offensive line is increasingly important because the pass rushers on the other side are some of the freakiest players on the field. The increase in the outside zone blocking scheme has also led to more chiseled linemen who can move laterally in space. Mainly, they are looking for good explosiveness via the jumps and strong 10-yard splits in the 40-yard dash. Although there's something to glean from the workouts, official measurements in Indy are the most critical aspect of the combine for offensive tackles. Keeping an eye out for weight and height outliers is important, but the most crucial measurement for tackles is arm length, with the NFL threshold for offensive tackles being 33 inches. All eyes were on Campbell, the draft's top blocker from LSU, and his shorter arm length. Campbell is a strong, balanced, and easy mover with excellent football character who allowed just 2 sacks over the last 2 seasons, playing left tackle in the SEC. Campbell flexed his elite athleticism with a 9.88 RAS score. Now, the LSU product is a top 10 talent in this class, but now there are some questions about whether or not he'll stick at tackle in the pros. And that's where you don't take a tackle and slide him to guard and still take him in the top 10. So we already have some movement possibility at number 10, and there might be some teams that are willing to move. Now, there was a comparison here. There are 6 starting offensive tackles with arms under 33 inches. Bernard Raymond, Braden Smith, Caleb McGarry, Luke Gadecki, Kendall Lamb, and Alaric Jackson. Now, that's 9% of the 67 offensive tackles with 500-plus snaps last year. So only 9% have arms smaller than 33 inches. Campbell officially measured at 32 5/8-inch arms. That's not terrible, right? He's just a little bit off. Now, the wingspan is what makes me nervous because he's not able to get long. Now, it puts him in the 7th percentile among offensive tackles, according to the research that they did, but 6 current starting tackles play the position with under 33-inch arms. So look, I'm not the only one that talks about this stuff. That's the only reason why I'm bringing this up. I'm not the only one out there that cares about arm length. I mean, you guys have heard me, those of you that have been around for a little bit, I complain about Aiden because of his arm length. It's not a dig at Aiden. It's just because for me, I would rather have a guy with longer arms. And, you know, if you've now got a tackle coming in, I need that extension cord. If you got a tackle coming in that has short arms, I mean, yeah, then that helps Aiden, right? Or anybody else that is coming in to the league this year that has a little bit shorter arms. It's like my son's in the house, huh? What's up, buddy? Ty Robinson is a good look to be an addition to our DT group. Yes, I fell in love with Ty Robinson too. Great minds think alike. I haven't even gotten to talk about him. I will all week long. We're going to be bringing up players all week long until we get into free agency. I'll be highlighting, doing some videos this week of players as well. Speaking of players, I popped out a video before we went live. There's been some rumor about Jack Sawyer and the Detroit Lions trading back to take Jack Sawyer. What on earth do you guys think about that? Let me know in the comments below. Would you want Jack Sawyer on this squad if it meant that the Lions traded out of number 1 and taking a guy that definitely has T-Rex arm syndrome? I don't know what else to call it. We'll call it TRS, T-Rex arm syndrome. And it's not because he's an Ohio State player, right? Or former Ohio State player, because now, I mean, none of that matters at the next level. Saturdays and Sundays don't blend anymore. But I will say this. I would never move back and then take a guy like Jack Sawyer that doesn't even meet the minimum threshold to be a game changer. Yeah, he's a hell of a football player. He's super smart. He's going to have a good career. But if you're looking for that elite athletic ability, he has it. If you're looking for that elite measurable to go with it, that can be that game changer on 3rd and 6 and 4th and 2, he may not have it. He just might not. So if I'm trading out of the first round, it's not for Jack Sawyer. If I'm trading back, you better believe if you know, Shamar Stewart's still on the board, if Landon Jackson's still on the board, those are the guys that I'm going after. Demetrius Knight, Donovan Ezrakow, those are the guys that I would be trading back to get. I don't think that Landon or Shamar are going to get outside of the first round right now, but man, we still have several weeks in front of us in pro days before, you know, we really get a good fix on where these guys are going to end up. I will say this, I'm glad to see that some people, you know, some analysts are starting to give a little bit of credibility to the Lions backing out of the first round and not staying at 28. I think it makes more sense, especially with how deep that this draft really is for the defensive line. There's going to be a ton of value to be had in the early part of the second round. The question is, can the Lions do some damage by selling 28, staying under, you know, 35, adding, you know, a late second round pick on top of that, and then packaging, you know, some of their picks to maybe move back up even further and take, you know, three really solid players in the top 60. If they could pull that off this year, it's lights out. I mean, that's exactly what we need for the defense is 3 players. We're not 1 player away. We never have been. The Lions are at least 3 players away. They need a linebacker, they need a defensive tackle, and they need an edge. I am not afraid of taking 2 linebackers and an edge because both those linebackers and the edge can get after the quarterback and cause some havoc. So it's all about, yeah, Scorton too. But I don't think Scorton's going to be there, Mr. King. I don't think that Scorton is going to be in the second round. He should be gone in the first. Should be. And that's why I wouldn't move up either. If you're going to move up, it could cost. I mean, it's going to cost. It's not going to cost as much as it did last year, but I think that there's more value. Let's put it this way. If you move up to take, here, let me get my list out. If you move up to take, let's just say that Landon Jackson is, you know, the top 2-3 edge rushers on people's boards, right? On teams' boards. I think he's going to be. I think Nick Scorton's going to be in the top 3 or 4 of teams' boards. I think that Mike Green until I see the rest of what he can do, because he didn't test at all. He did 28 reps on the bench, but no 40, no 10-yard, no vert, no nothing else. Until I see him do something, until I see Michael Williams do something, I don't know where these guys are going to end up. James Pierce, I know this is the stupidest hot take I've probably said in a long time. He may not be a first-round pick. I know, it's dumb. I know. But he might not be. He might not be. Some team that wants a light outside linebacker that really doesn't play on first down to shut the run down, you're going to take James Pierce. He's not a run stuffer. He's just not. He's not a 3-down guy. That's just my opinion, though. And the opinion is shared by others, but I won't say by who. So where was I going with this? You know, if you move all the way up to 15 or 16, you're definitely going to have to get north of 18 to get the best edge rusher in the class not named Abdul Carter. And that player gets you 6 sacks, 7 sacks this year. Really good production, call it, 40 pressures as a rotational player. That's a really good season. But if you could back up into the second round and you end up with a Landon Jackson and a Demetrius Knight or a Donovan Ezrakow, both of those guys, you've now fixed 2 positions. And now instead of 6 and 40, you might get 12 and 80, or 14 and 100 out of both of those guys combined. To me, that makes more sense than getting one player. Let's get 2 players that can produce, and 2 players in case one gets injured. You still have another producer and you still have another young guy that can develop. That's why it makes sense to back up. At least for me. Moosey the Staggy says Green won't be on the Lions board as he has. Oh boy. When did that happen? How come I didn't hear about that? That's craziness. I didn't hear about that at all. Where was I? Interview tracker. We met with him, so he's got to be on the board. So Green told reporters on Wednesday at the Combine that he was also accused in high school. He was never charged, insisting that he did nothing wrong. And there's 2 allegations pending. So per The Athletic, Green signed a zero-tolerance policy at Virginia due to the allegations in high school, and he was later dismissed from the football team in September of 2022. The Athletic revealed more details about the situation, saying that until Wednesday, the reason for the dismissal had not been made public. Details of the allegations are still unknown. Fishbrain and person wrote. Okay. The University of Virginia spokesperson said that the school would not comment on the situation at the time, that Marshall University did not immediately respond to any request for comment as well. There's accusations out there. Green said he's never been questioned. I've never been asked. Nobody ever asked me a question about what happened before I departed from Virginia. It was just accusations that caused me to leave. And that's when he ended up at Marshall for both 23 and 24. And said he could have stayed at the university if he had wanted to. After he got suspended, he wanted a fresh start. So I'm curious. It seems like every year you get something like this. Every year it's someone's trying to pull somebody down. Maybe somebody knows something about somebody and they're just trying to ruin somebody's life. But whatever. If these allegations are legit, obviously, assault, sexual domestic or otherwise, does not have a place anywhere in this world, let alone a football field or, on a football team. So if the allegations are true, obviously our thoughts would be with the people affected. Hopefully it's not true. Hopefully it turns out to be a whole bunch of nothing. We'll see. It just seems like there's a lot of this stuff going on lately, and it's not to diminish the allegations, the alleged or reported allegations, and whoever's reporting them. I think that it's just a lot of it's going on now for whatever reason, and it's like people wait until they're about to go get a big payday, and then this stuff surfaces, expecting a swift resolution, big paycheck, and then it goes away. So anyway, looking at my board, and by the way, the whiteboard, it is going to have War Room written all over it. Over the next couple of weeks, it is going to be filled out with names, and we're going to figure out who's going where, hopefully. But we're going to get into War Room mentality and get everything up there so that we can kind of work on it and kind of figure it out. So far, let me give you guys an update on the tracker as far as who the Lions have met with. As far as edge position, obviously met with Mike Green, Nick Scorton, Jack Sawyer, Josiah Stewart, Savion Jones, Jalen McLeod, Howard Cross, Colin Oliver, and Seth Coleman. Outside linebackers and linebackers, they met with Ty French, Chris Paul Jr., Cody Lindbergh, Kobe King, Jay Higgins, Jahad Campbell, Barrett Carter, which you guys got to keep your eyes out for Barrett Carter. He is quickly rising on my list, and I would hope he is on yours as well. Nick Jackson, defensive tackles, they've met with CJ West, Kenneth Grant, Danny Strigau. Safeties, Jonas Sanker, Andrew Makuba, Donovan McMillan. Tight ends, Thomas Fedone, Jackson Hawes, CJ Dupree, Robbie Oust. I think that's how you say his last name, Oust. Cornerbacks, Kobe Bryant, O'Donnell Fortune, he's rising. Darian Porter, he's also rising. And Azariah Thomas is also rising. Quincy Riley. And then wide receivers, obviously Ellick, Ao Manor, Pat Bryant, he's definitely on the list. Brew McCoy, Ali Jennings. Quarterbacks, Seth Hennigan and Jalen Milrow. And this one is a little disturbing, but William and Mary Charles Grant, offensive tackle. Jonah Savane, I think that's how you say his last name. So Jonah, if you guys remember when we were watching, I think it was the Shrine Bowl. That was one of the players that we identified. And definitely, a lot of these players we have identified, but definitely on the list as far as someone that could be rising quickly. And I don't know why he's not pulling up. Hold on. Come on, Jonah, pull up. Did I spell his name wrong? There we go. Yeah, I did. Let me fix that. All right, Jonah's fixed. So Jonah, 6'4", 33 7/8 arms. He definitely meets the threshold as an offensive tackle. 324 pounds, 10 1/4 inch hands. Now, production score was not great, but his athleticism this week, phenomenal. Under a sub 540 at 4.95, a 1.72 10-yard split, 29-inch vert. It's great. It's good, not great. Broad at 8.10 is good, not great. And a 4.66 20-yard shuttle. I still felt that this guy moved very well. And I thought that, the more I watched and rewatched, the more I liked. Jonah out of Arizona definitely could be a Detroit Lion if things work right. His strengths so far, definitely has a dense frame. Little extra thickness through the limbs. Definitely a good wing. He can definitely add on based on his APE score. He could get, a little bit thicker if he needed to. I doubt it. He's already at 324 pounds. Very patient with his hands, but he also uses his hands effectively, very accurately, good timing, uses posture and core strength to control, rushers off the line. And once he's locked in, you can't get off him. He's a space eating offensive lineman. You know, he really utilizes his frame well to kind of push the edge rushers or the defensive tackles around. And he's able to shove angle blocks around with his upper body strength. So there's a lot to love about this guy. Weaknesses, he has a little bit of trouble sitting heavy and anchoring against bull rushers. He kind of gets off on his heel a little bit. I noticed it a couple of times. He gets back on his heel, and that's not good. Once an edge rusher gets you on your heels, it's usually over. You're going to end up on your back. However, he doesn't end up on his back often. Had below average recognition and response time on twists and stunts. Doesn't bend and slide well enough to protect on his inside, but that could be a coaching thing. That's something he can pick up at the next level. Falls off base blocks due to inconsistent body control. Again, that's something that with a little bit of coaching and technique, I think that he'll be able to fix some of this stuff at the next level. Overall, he's definitely going to be a starter at some point in the league, and he's an upgrade over what we have right now. So I really like this dude. I'm projecting him more as a guard though, not an offensive tackle. I would love to see him come into Detroit as a guard and work his way into tackle. Oh, there you go. Warren King just said a lot of analysts are predicting a move inside to guard for Jonah. Yeah, I am too, especially at 6'4". I'm just like arm length. I like my tackles to be north of 6'5.5". 6'5.5" is the cutoff for me. I like the 6'6", 6'7" guys. I think Taylor Decker's like 6'6", 6'7". Penei Sewell, he might be one of the smaller ones. You think he's 6'5"? So he's just under, I think. I'll look him up real quick. Yeah, NFL.com has him at 6'5", 335, 33 and a quarter inch hands, or quarter inch arms. So we know that Brad likes the guys that have the longer arms, and Jonah, I'm not sure on his full nationality, but American Samoan definitely lines up with the Lions because it is somebody that I feel produces the best offensive lineman, bar none. That nationality, he's from Tafuna. I'm sorry, he's from Tafuna, American Samoa. Produces some of the best offensive linemen that you're ever going to see. Obviously, Penei Sewell is part of that eclectic group. All right, let's see here. Anthony Belton also has really good size as a tackle, 6'6", 336. It's good explosiveness with almost 9 foot broad. I didn't take a look at Belton, Chris. I'll take a look at him. I'll put him on my list. I'll definitely put him on my list. Let's see where he's ranked right now. So, Gray Zabel right now is ranked as the 8th best offensive lineman. Can you believe that? According to this Huddle report. Now, one of the smoothest guys this weekend, I thought was Connerly. I thought Connerly moved really well. I thought he was better than advertised, to be honest with you. I really thought he was better than advertised. Wide receivers. Let's talk about wide receivers for just a moment. Obviously, Matthew Golden had a hell of a weekend. I mean, the guy just completely knocked it out the park. Oh, shoot. Where'd that go? Posted up a 4.2940. Dude was moving. Jalen Knoll was at the top end of the list at 4.39. And in between those two, you had Dante Thornton Jr., Chimere Deek, Jalen Lane, Arian Smith, Ty Felton, Keandre Lambert Smith, Jordan Watkins, and Isaiah Bond, all between 4.29 and 4.39. That was the class of the wide receivers this weekend. Tennessee wide receiver Deontay Thornton Jr. set the fastest 40 mark in his group, though. He also measured 6'5", 205 pounds, and ran an unofficial 4.30, which it's official now, right? I think it's official now. Take a look. Yeah, 4.3 right on the dot. 6'5", 205 pounds. This is a big guy. where was I going with this? His ranking. Thornton. Is somehow still not in the top 15, which doesn't make any sense to me. With that size and that ability, I don't understand how he would not be in the top 15. He's rated as a 6'10 from the NFL.com. Good backup with potential to develop into a starter. You know what? Let Dante slip. Now, I think the biggest knock on him is because he's out of Tennessee. And Tennessee's got that funny offense that we all know so well because of Hendon Hooker. And the knock is it's going to take him a little bit of time to adjust. And because he's not coming from a pro-ready offense, that he's probably going to slide in this draft. And I mean, I agree with all that. I do. But then there's something called just innate ability. And you can't teach speed. So if he can run under a football and catch it, you can find a way to get the guy involved. I mean, you added another burner like this next to, Williams and Amon-Ra St. Brown, teams are in trouble. You can't have two guys running 4.3 speed on the same team, burning you up the field. You're going to take a whole side deep, and then you're just going to watch Jahmyr Gibbs walk out of the backfield to the end zone. So I would love to see a big body guy like this added with that kind of speed, those kind of legs. This guy just gets faster and faster and faster as he gets going. I guarantee you he probably runs a way faster 100 than he does a 40, which is scary. And I don't mean sub 4.3. I mean, you know what I mean. He gets faster as he gets going. All right, so what did you guys think about the weekend? Trace was impressed by Connolly. I was too. I absolutely was too. Zabel is who I'd love for us to get, but he probably won't be there. Let me take a look at the big board here. Looking at guards, why don't we just look at all tackles here? So Will Campbell is still ranked as number 6. I think that Will's probably going to slide. Unless someone's going to transition into a guard, which I doubt that they're going to do that. Josh Simmons is ranked 17th, so he's number 2. Calvin Banks is 19th at number 3. Membu is 24th at number 4, and Gray Zabel is number 5 at 29. So right now he's projecting to be on the board when the Lions are picking. Josh Connerly is expected to be on the board at pick 33 and is the 6th rated offensive tackle right now. Tyler Booker will still be on the board as well. Donovan Jackson, I'm still interested to see if he's going to transition to a guard at the next level. I think it's possible. And Jonah Savine, or whatever, how you pronounce his last name, Jonah S., 86. So that puts him in line, in the 3rd round for the Lions if the Lions are looking at taking a guard tackle or tackle to guard combo. That would be the guy to take. Yeah, I'm right with you there, Isaiah. Isaiah Miles says, definitely hope that Thornton is part of the Holmes plan and that we draft him. Goff would have a field day with him as an added weapon. You can never have enough weapons, right? You can never have enough weapons. Tate Ratledge, for whatever reason, tested really well. Still in the top 105, according to the big board here. Which, again, that lines up well for the Lions. If you get a couple of guys that slip. Anthony Belton, my son threw out Anthony Belton. He's at pick 94 right now, which also could end up being the Lions pick if they move from 101, move north a little bit. They'll be able to select him. So we have options, I guess is what I'm saying. But first and foremost, I'd rather see the Lions. They've got to get an edge in a linebacker. I'm beginning to wonder if they're even going to go after a defensive tackle. I'm really beginning to wonder if they are, because this might be the year that they go in and they take 2 edge rushers or 2 linebackers and 1 edge and find somebody in free agency. There was some rumor, I guess, that came out that Brad called on Myles Garrett. I have no idea where that's coming from, but I'm sure it's not true. We just don't get that kind of information unless you're in the room. You know, nobody doing this gets that kind of information unless you're in the room. So I don't know where that was reported. So I'm not expecting, obviously, Brad Holmes to do anything with any of these high-priced free agents. There was speculation that releasing Jalen Reeves-Maybin meant that the Lions were going to go and target Myles Garrett. $2 million of savings does not help you swing for Myles Garrett. It absolutely doesn't. I think what that move tells us is that the Lions are looking to shed a little cap, let guys latch onto another team, and just get ready to do some damage in free agency and get as much money in as they can so that they can do some damage in free agency. Free agency is where I'm going to shift over the next couple of weeks. Obviously, we'll be doing more with combine stuff and kind of going back and finding some players to highlight each and every day. We'll probably get out 1 video a day at a minimum on some of the prospects that I think are going to make a good opportunity to become a Detroit Lion. And then we'll get into free agency. So now that we kind of know where the tables are set and what teams are looking to do, it's going to give us an idea on who's available and who's not. We already know, what players are as far as the free agent list, but I think we have a better idea now of who's been signed and who hasn't. There hasn't been a ton of movement in the NFL. It's kind of weird. There really hasn't been a ton of movement this year. So I think part of that is because of the draft and where it's deep. Some of these teams are probably looking at resetting and getting younger. So there's going to be a rash of free agents that are going to go unsigned. I think the second wave of free agency is probably going to be better than the first wave for the Lions. It usually is, but I think it will be. Oh, Cam Scattergo? Yeah, I mean, everyone loves him. I'd love to see him around too, but I think the Lions are set. Lions are set in the running back room. Doesn't mean that we won't bring somebody in. Quite honestly, there's a guy that we spoke about on the Shrine game. Pull him up real quick. He did not test well at all. Let me pull his stats up. He could slip to the Lions. Could. And I actually like his physicality. So he looked great at Ollie Gordon. He looked great in the bowl games. The Reese's bowl game. But he ran a 4.61 40. He did hit a 10-foot broad and did jump 34.5 inches on a vert. And his 10-yard split was 1.6, but a 4.61 40. Now, straight line speed is not everything, right? Speed on the field matters more than anything else. But this guy at 6'1", 226 pounds, he has the size to be a bruiser at the next level. So when you look at a guy like Montgomery, this is an Ollie Gordon, position, in my opinion. Like, for him to come in and be that number 2 back that is more of the, the fourth down guy, the goal line guy, the bruising back, your power back. I think that Ollie Gordon fits that much more than he does the speed back. I mean, clearly there's only so many Ashton Genties and Jahmyr Gibbs in, at the next level. But I think that Ollie Gordon is going to find himself an opportunity. He's not, Henry type, but he's still a big bruising, style of a running back. The way that he runs behind his pads, I think he's going to be just fine at the next level. But he did not test well, which was surprising. So we'll see what his pro day lends. But if Gordon slips and he's there, I don't know how you pass up on him. But based on who the Lions have brought in so far, I don't think running back's really on a list. It's not really needed, but then again, Craig Reynolds and, some of the other guys that have stuck around for a while, it's probably time to move away. Probably time to move off and bring in some young talent. All right, questions before we get off tonight. Anything you guys want to talk about? Anything else going on? So Warren King says either, get it over here. Either Ratledge or Donovan Jackson at 101 would be really good. Yeah, both those guys, or at least right now, kind of projected to be there. Both of them projected to be there. Let's just for fun, let's just round this out with let's just do a PFF mock real quick. Let me see if there's see if they've added any new picks. And they have. So the new layout, is this new layout, is it easier on the eyes? Does it look better? Is it easier to see? Trying to do something that's a little bit different. I'm working on the back end. Trying to make it easier. Trying to get the framing right because the framing's been off. All right, let's do a quick mock and then we're gonna get off for the night. This is not my mock 3.0. That is tomorrow night. We'll be doing mock 3.0. Well, we'll just have a little fun with this one. All right, let me get this thing started here. Okay, so who's already been taken? Gray Zabel win at 27. Donovan Ezrakow win at 26. Matthew Golden at 25. Armand Membo at 24. Michael Williams at 23. Man, Shamar Stewart at 22. Walter Nolan. Will Johnson. James Pierce. Malachi Starks. Kenneth Grant, Jahad Campbell, Ashton Genty at 10 to the Bears. I mean, that actually makes sense. Will Campbell slipping to 8. I don't know if that's really a slip. I'll do a Carter to 6. Well, that's nuts. Cam Ward, Travis Hunter, Shadur Sanders, McMillan. So Nick Scorton is available. I can't believe that he has slipped. He's ranked at 30. So let's just have some fun with this one. Here's what I would do. Even though Nick Scorton is there, I got 7 people that want to trade. Buffalo Bills next pick is at 30. They want to trade. Everyone wants to trade. It keeps me within pick 33 if I go to the Browns. Who do the Browns take? They took Travis Hunter, so you know damn well they're looking for an edge. So I'm not going to let them have an edge. Kansas City's not going to trade with us. That just doesn't even make any sense. All right, let's go Cleveland. Let's just see what happens. So I want 33 and 67. You'll get 28, and that's it. And they won't do it. There's just no way. But that's what I would want to move out of the first round. Minimum of a second round pick. I'll send 196 your way. And I'm going to force that trade because I think that's about fair. We'll force it. And now let's see what would have happened to us. So we lost Demetrius. We lost Jelon Walker. We lost Nick Scorton. Dang. We lost them all. That is no good. That is no good. There's Eli. We're not taking a wide receiver, but TJ Sanders. So he's high on my list. I appreciate you, Lander, man. He's high on my list. Let's see where he is. Where is he? TJ Sanders. TJ. Oh, you know what we don't have from TJ? We don't have any, I don't think I have any times. I don't think he did anything this week. Give me one sec. Just got to look something up. Yeah, so he did the vert and the broad, but he didn't do any bench, 40, or split. So, well, based on the vert and the broad, that's not, those scores aren't terrible, but they're not great. 31 and a half. He is high on my list, though. Yeah, you could take him early in the second. All right, Tyleek Williams. He is somebody that I did like this week. Landon Jackson sitting there. There's no way I can not take. See, I would take Landon. I would take Nick. Darius Alexander, I would not take right here. And I would not take an offensive lineman. So we got more trades. But that backs us all the way up to pick 40. Which I don't think that I would want to do that. Las Vegas, 37, 33. And let's go 73. 101. Nope, not happening. All right, we're just going to take the pick. I'm not going any further. Landon Jackson's my guy. Now, I would have tried to trade up. We got 67, 60, 101 left. Totally missed out on a good linebacker. But there's Chris Paul. He's been mocked to the Lions, but I think that's a bit of a reach. I'm just going to do this based on the list. I mean, look at who the Lions have interviewed, right? Who's on the list? Josiah Stewart, Savion Jones, Jalen McLeod, Howard Cross, Colin Oliver, Seth Coleman. Let's just take a look. We'll go defensive tackle. And so far, none of them. I could have sworn that we met with Caldwell. I thought we did. Peegs intrigued me at the draft. I did like his work. CJ West was somebody that we did meet with. Let's see. Defensive tackle. Kenneth Grant, CJ West, Danny Strigow. But I'm not taking him that early. All right, let's go linebacker. Chris Paul, Jeffrey Bossa, Barrett Carter. All right, little early to take Chris Paul. So let's take a look at, oh man, edge again. Josiah Stewart, Jordan Birch, Elijah Roberts. I wasn't high on. Josiah Stewart. Yeah, he's really small. Jared Ivey. We did not meet with him. He's pretty big. Kyle Kennard. Let me go to my list. See where these guys rank. Kyle Kennard. He's close. Jared Ivey. He's not close, but we're missing a ton of work for Jared, I think. Yeah. Missing everything for Jared. So I don't have any scores for him. About Jordan Birch. He's not on the list either. Okay. David Walker sliding all the way back. I guess I'm not surprised. Man, what do we do? Alfred Collins. Did we meet with him? I don't think we did. No, you guys can kill me later, but I think that this is where you take Ivy, even though I don't know. Picking right back at 67, hopefully. Oh, he's gone. Chris Paul's there. There we go. And now in the last, there's Tate Ratledge. Isaiah Bond, that would be a good pick. Jalen Milroe still on the board. I don't think that's going to happen. Andrew Makuba is definitely on the list. 6 foot, 190. He's got good size. Jonas Sanker's on the list. 6'1", 210. I like that size better. Aeneas Peebles, he did catch my eye at the draft, but he's only 6'1", so he's too small. David Walker, I mean, as an edge, yes, but we already grabbed two edges, didn't we? Yeah. I don't think we need another edge. We need another tackle. CJ West. So, I mean, not a terrible draft, right? Got a B on it. Whatever. That one's for fun. That was definitely not what I would be doing. But Landon, I would never walk away from. I would not walk away from Landon, period. No way. See, Moosey the Staggy says, Will, given how deep the draft looks, would you trade picks 28 and 60 for 39 and 41? 28 and 60 for 39 and 41. That's interesting. I think outside of 35, you're probably going to miss on a guy like Landon Jackson. You're probably going to miss. Yeah, let me go back and redo this here. I guess it depends on what happens early in the draft. But I think at 39 and 41, you're definitely going to miss probably Landon Jackson. You're going to miss a guy like a Nick Amenawari. You're probably going to miss out on a Shamar Turner. Which, you know, Shamar Turner, I'm not super impressed with him. He's okay. Jack Sawyer would probably be there, but I'm not overly impressed with him either. This Princely Umenamian, I mean, he is somebody that if he was there at 39 or 41, I would be okay with that. I just think the meat is gone after 45 for sure, and I think there's going to be a run on edge. I think in the mid 30s to end of the 30s. I think there's going to be a big run. So it just depends. I think it just depends. I think that Landon Jackson is the guy that we have to land, to be honest with you. If they don't move up and if Nick Scorton is gone. So I just ran it again, and Nick Scorton was gone at 27. Jelon Walker was gone at 26. Shamar Stewart was gone at 22. Kenneth Grant was gone at 19. Will Nolan at 16. Malachi Starks at 14. So I don't see the Lions moving up. I really don't. It all depends on what happens. If we start to see a run on edge, you know, let's say starting at pick 21, 22, if a couple of guys go, you might see Brad try to move up to 23 or 22, because the Packers definitely won't trade with us ever again. We've snaked them so many times. You either need to get in front of the Packers at 22, or you're going to have to stay in the top 35. That's my answer. That's my final answer. So, all right, y'all. I'm going to bust out for the night. Be back in the morning, 8 a.m. for the morning show. You guys have a good night. It's been a great combine. A lot of good athletes. Still have a lot to unpack. And all that information, you know, will be digested here over the next several weeks. So, still have a lot of work to do on the sheet and get some more numbers from all the pro days. But enjoy it. This is going to be a fun couple of weeks. Free agency is going to be here in 2 weeks, and it's going to be balls to the wall. So, you guys have a good night. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Probably go Detroit Lions. Take care.
Detroit Lions!